And joining us now with more on the war in Gaza and the rising tensions in the region is expert in the Middle East, Dr. Mordechai Kedar. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Lida.
So let's first start off in Gaza. The IDF has made significant strides, has taken control of northern Gaza, but has withdrawn its troops to focus on other areas. And now Hamas is making use of this absence, trying to take back control. What can you tell us? And does this mean that Hamas still has the capabilities to return to power? And, moreover, Hamas is an ideology. So can it even be defeated?
It's very hard to defeat an ideology, especially when people who will be in 20 years will be 25. Today they are 5 years old. It's very hard to extract this ideology from their hearts. Yet it depends to an extent on media, on education, which Israel will try or should try to rebuild in Gaza, unlike as it was under Hamas. The only question is if Israel will be able, first of all, to get rid of the military power of Hamas. So far, Israel succeeded to get rid of like half of the military capabilities of Hamas, especially the people, the fighters, because they remained in the tunnels. They remained in parts of Khan Yunis. They remained in Deir el-Balah. They remained in Rafah. Of course, the city of Gaza also has some presence of Hamas people, the remnants of the fighters of Hamas. So there is a lot of work to do, especially in the southern part of Gaza Strip.
And so you mentioned the south. The IDF has said that it needs to move its operations south to control the Philadelphia corridor on Egypt's border. This has caused major backlash from the Egyptians. They're threatening to withdraw their ambassador and even more. But the Egyptians are just as keen to eradicate Hamas. So why all these threats to Israel?
They are afraid that if Israel reaches all the way down to the border between the Gaza Strip and Egypt, Israel might mistakenly damage the border and the fence which the Egyptians erected there, and thousands of people from Gaza Strip will stream into Egypt. The Egyptians will have to shoot them, and this actually will put Egypt in a very delicate situation, very sensitive situation, when they have to kill so many people because they do not want Hamas on their soil at all, because Hamas is a Muslim Brotherhood, and the Muslim Brotherhood is actually outlawed in Egypt. And the last thing on earth which they need is another group of terrorists coming to Egypt in order to agitate the situation inside Egypt, which they succeeded more or less to control. So they are afraid, actually, that Israel will force, in a way or another, the Palestinians or the people from Gaza to run to Egypt, and this is something which Egypt cannot tolerate.
And I want to zoom out for a minute, sort of looking at the bigger picture. We have Iran essentially backing every terror group on Israel's borders at the moment, even attacking U.S. and global interests. Israel is, of course, on the front lines in the north. Do you believe that Iran, Hezbollah, will be deterred, or are we heading for a confrontation in the north as well?
First of all, it depends on the results of the fight in Gaza. If Israel succeeds to eradicate all the remnants of Hamas, this might send a very clear message to Hezbollah and to their friends in Iran. If Israel is forced, mainly by the Americans, to stop the war or to reduce the intensity of the war, and Hamas, as a result, will remain as a force in Gaza, this will send a very clear message to Hezbollah and to Iran and to their friends in Iraq, in Syria, and other places, that Israel is not as powerful as they thought, and this will actually increase their willingness to get into a war against Israel. I hope that the Americans are aware of this situation, and the Americans will not maintain pressure on Israel to stop the war on Gaza, definitely, especially because of the ramifications of such a step. Another thing which you didn't mention is the danger which is posed on Jordan. Jordan, although it has a very long border with Israel, Jordan is a weak country compared to the forces which threaten Israel and Jordan together from the north, from Iraq, from Syria, from Iran. And if the Iranian army decides to march to the west, means towards Israel, Jordan will not be any buffer zone between Israel and Jordan, between Israel and Iraq. And Jordan will collapse like in no time almost, vis-a-vis the armies or the forces which will run into Jordan coming from Iraq, especially if there are Iranians. Personally, I'm not sure that Iran will take part, an active part in this war, but it's enough that the 50 militias, which are pro-Iranian militias in Iraq, let alone Syria, the 17 militias which they have in Syria, will march on Jordan in order to invade Israel from the ground in some places between Eilat and the north, almost at the Kinneret. And there's a very, very long border with large part in the Negev where there is no real barrier which can stop them. So apparently, or possibly, this is their plan. And Jordan should be very worried about this option.
As should Israel and the rest of the region. Dr. Kedar, thank you so much for your analysis today.
Thank you so much, Lida.